The thing that we didn't talk about is the massive announcement from Line 6, which was the announcement of the Helix Stadium line. And listen, I mean, I am a dyed-in-the-wool Line 6 Helix person.
Yeah.
And I watched the entire keynote. I'm sure you did as well, Dan.
Yep.
And we were talking about it in the Patreon Slack. Alongside that, the Namehouse guys, so the guys in 60 Cycle Hum and Landon and Henning and all of those guys, we were talking through all the features and that kind of thing. And I feel like the amount of folks who are, to use a phrase the kids use, glazing over this release is pretty much covered. Everybody who's stoked about it has explained why they're stoked about it.
And I'm kind of glad that we were traveling or having other topics to talk about. The announcement has cooled by a couple of weeks at this point, and we can kind of have our response to it, which may be a little bit off to the left of where most people kind of came in about it.
Yes. And so, the world loves a listicle. So we're going to do at minimum 5 reasons why we're not interested in the Helix Stadium.
Yep.
And listen, I get that as a Line 6 fanboy that this is not necessarily the angle that you might have been expecting. The Seymour Duncan demo that we're bringing up this week is 100% linked to my Line 6 rig.
Sure.
And so it would make sense that we would be all on board this thing. But the fact of the matter is that there are a number of outstanding features, features that are going to move the modeling world forward exponentially in ways that we can only kind of begin to understand, but also don't work for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of other guitar players.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through a list of the 5 reasons why I'm personally not interested in the Helix Stadium, and you may not be either, with a couple of honorable mentions probably at the end of the discussion. So, without further ado, the first reason why I'm not interested in the Helix Stadium is the form factor.
Yeah.
I have really gotten accustomed to my little HX Stomp rig. I've got this tiny on-stage pedal board. It's got, exactly what I need and nothing else. And even with the reduced footprint of the Helix Stadium deal, it's still enough room for me to put almost 6 stomps in a series to take up roughly the same amount of space.
I'm in the same place. I was in the Quad Cortex, which is about 1/3 the size of the smaller of the new stadiums. When that died, I bought myself a Headrush Prime Flex, which is a little bigger than your Stomp and has a expression pedal. And so, I'm really not interested in getting back into sort of pedal board size Helixes.
Yeah. And the thing that they're really kind of touting is the UI. And listen, it looks incredible.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
But the idea of having a massive touchscreen and scribble strips doesn't really make that big of a difference to me because I've pretty much got everything dialed in the way that I need it. I just need to push the buttons.
Yeah. Well, and look, they're late to the game on that. Headrush was the first one out of the gate with a touchscreen thing. Quad Cortex came in next with it. The next generation of Headrush kind of upped that game. So they're maybe the 4th to market with this idea. And it's a good idea. It's the obvious idea. At this point, it's the obvious idea. But it's not compelling as a sales proposition at this point.
I really think the focus mode interface is really cool. When you go into either the amp or the effects where you can kind of drag to corners and get kind of these presets.
That's cool.
It does 2 things. The fact that you can easily get sounds that you would normally have to take, a significant amount of time to dial in, while also being educated as to how you establish those things by seeing the knobs kind of move in real time as they're moving.
100%.
Super cool.
Because that's the problem. That's the problem with this. It was my problem when I first got into Helix was sort of onboarding myself into dialing in a model. And so if there are nice sounding presets that I can understand how they got there, that's a good way for me to learn how to deal with the thing.
Sure.
It's smart. I think that's smart.
Yeah. So again, this is not necessarily like us dunking on the features. It's just looking at it from a practical standpoint and whether or not it solves a problem that we have.
Well, yeah, and if it's a compelling buy for me at this point, is kind of where I'm personally looking at it.
Yeah. So on that note, and there's a couple of things. There's a practicality kind of functionality deal, and there's also kind of like an experiential solution-based kind of angle that we're kind of approaching this. So the next one is I don't need all the extra IO that they're offering.
Yeah.
This new version has additional XLR inputs. It's got
expand D10, yeah.
Yeah, the extension for like the digital interfaces and that kind of thing.
Well, and part of it is Line 6 has been all in on this Variax digital guitar kind of thing that has its own connector to a pedal, and so they needed some way to support that. This device is how to do that. It's an external box. It's an additional buy. But if you have a Variax, and that enables some cool things. I mean, you can change tunings at the pedal.
Yep.
Right? Neat. That's neat.
Yeah.
But not something your garden variety corner of the bar guy is going to much need.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to need 4 effects loops. I don't know who's going to need 4 external expression pedals. I mean, there is that guy, but it's not me.
Yeah. So, and this will kind of make more sense as we go down the line as far as the conversation goes. Like if you're trying to set up like a massive hybrid rig that's got vocal processing, keys and clicks and automation and that kind of thing, that additional IO is going to be huge. But like I've played hundreds of shows with my HX hardware, made thousands of dollars. And I've never once been in a scenario where I was like, you know what I really need?
Yeah.
2 USB ports.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's got the stereo output. It's got USB audio. It's got MIDI control. It's got a lot of flexibility. You can do the 4-cable method. You can do direct to front of house. You can do half direct, half live in the room. Like it's got a lot of flexibility already in it. And there's nothing in the new version that is like, I have to have this,
I've never said to myself, my 3 effects loops are great, but I really need a 4th one.
Yeah. It feels like overkill.
It does. I don't know if it's, I haven't had preview of the topics of your listicle here. But one thing about this that I'm a little annoyed by is they've been denying that there's been a Helix 2 coming.
Right.
For the last year and a half. And everybody's been like, oh, I'm going to hold off on buying a Helix right now because it's been around so long. Obviously, a second generation is coming. And Line 6 has been like, no. And then they dropped this. And it's not coming yet. It's coming in the fall.
Sure.
But I was annoyed. And as a product person, there's only so transparent you can be when there's a new release coming. But the fact that there was denial about that up until the announcement of it I didn't love that.
So let's put a pin in that because I think there's a valid discussion to be had, but I think we can get to it from a different angle.
Great.
Moving along, the whole modeling cloning deal. This is the first Line 6 product that features the ability to do profiling, cloning, whatever you want to call it. Yep. And the fact that everything is network-based, meaning that like there's this whole machine learning component, and they're talking a lot about the engine by which you can do this thing and how it is so sophisticated and all that stuff. Cool. I don't need that in my world. I've got a couple of analog amps that I really like, but at this point, I've been in the modeling world long enough where I have found models of stuff that they have already put out that exactly hit what I need.
Well, yeah, exactly, or exactly enough for the stages we play.
Sure.
Right? I don't really need a precise, down to the wiring replication of some particular amp because I'm on stage playing we talked about Mustang Sally. I'm doing Mustang Sally. How precise do I need to be? It's like, that's just not my gig.
Yeah.
I need a good clean. I need a good crunch. I need a good distort. I need a good lead.
Yep.
And maybe I need special effects for particular songs to match particular things that are happening in tunes I'm covering. That's, That last part is probably the bulk of what I need, frankly.
Yeah.
But I don't need to. Nobody in my audience to be like, oh, that's not quite a 5150.
Sure. And I mean, listen, I've got an orange Rockaverb 50 Mark I that I absolutely love. It is my favorite tube amp of all time. But I've got a Rev Gen purple version of whatever that sound is, and it's in the hands of literally hundreds of guitar players at this moment. It was run on a much older firmware. It went viral without me even knowing it, and I built it on an HX Stomp. I don't feel like going to the trouble of profiling my actual amp would make that kind of impact. I feel like the fact that I was able to get the sound that I was looking for with the resources I had inside the box is the thing that matters.
Adam, hang on. You're saying that was not done using the entirely new Agora modeling methodology?
No way.
Oh my God. It's crap. Obviously it's crap.
It's not. It
Well,
ripped.
obviously. Okay. The point is, like, come out with a new technology. I get it. You know, it's how you sell the next generation of pedals, but it doesn't mean that something people have been working with and using live on stages forever is suddenly junk. Like, these things are especially in a live environment where the details and nuances are so irrelevant, just not part of what people are hearing.
Yeah.
What you're wearing is way more important than that you're on the latest version of a modeling technology.
Right. If it rips, it rips. It doesn't matter what engine you're using.
Totally.
And, you know, I don't consider myself like a tone snob or a gear nerd or whatever.
No.
But I've sent presets to like multiple guys who have kind of been transitioning off of the real amp deal into this modeling world. And they're playing huge ass stages at this point. Like not insignificant people.
Yeah.
And it's enough.
It's enough.
It's enough. It's cool. It's a cool tech. It's not part of my workflow. I respect that it might be appealing to certain people, but you know, in the world of profiling, you've got Tone X and Quad Cortex and Kemper, and they've done the thing. And I don't feel like there's something out there that's like, this is what I've been missing.
For sure. Listen, I bought back in 2013 or 2014, I bought an atomic amplifier. It's my first modeler. Then I bought a Helix LT. Then I bought a Quad Cortex. Then I bought this head rush. Each of those was an advancement on the previous ones. But I don't know. And it could be that I'm just having gadget fatigue at this point.
Sure.
But this announcement came out and I was like, yeah, it all sounds great. But
yeah.
And if I was going to buy my first one, it would be this.
Sure.
But my fifth one, I don't think so.
Well, and I would assume that the improvement that each of those purchases provided got more and more marginal as you went.
In terms of tone, for sure. Now, the thing is, you know, the amplifier was about the size of a Stomp. The Helix was huge. And since then, it's been about reducing physical size.
Sure.
With an understanding that my audience does not care about the high, you know, bouquet tone sniffing that the internet seems to care about. So I have not been making those decisions based very much on the actual tones they produce. Tones I was producing 5 devices ago was fine.
Yeah.
But it's been about working it into my workflow. It's been about making it deal with MIDI well so that it integrates with my system. It's not been about some new modeling engine that somehow is more accurate and really super nerdy guitar snobs really care about.
Fair. So I guess to say, like, to put like a bow on it, like cloning adds additional complexity to something that I have basically already functionally solved in my setup.
Yeah.
So if you've got like, if you're really precious about your signal chain, or you're, you know, doing some sort of tribute that involves you like literally replicating the signal path of every iconic song that you're playing, this might be the answer to all of your prayers.
Maybe.
For me though, nah.
Nah.
Yeah. Okay, moving along. Next thing.
Wait, where are we? 4 or 5?
We're on 4.
4.
in my world, the next one is all of the audio wizardry. Kind of the DSP, analyzation, what have you.
Yeah.
So if you went through the keynote, they were talking about like stem separation and multi-track playback and that kind of thing. Very cool functionality. You know, there are a handful of floorboard units that do this kind of thing. The Voice Live Extreme does that, I believe, like yours does.
Yes.
And there's some others. And this is kind of the next kind of
it does it way better
iteration.
than Voice Live.
Sure.
Way better.
Yeah. Also the fact that it can like literally like you can put in an audio file and it will like separate. That's pretty phenomenal. We were talking about this, you know, literally last week and the week before. Yeah. But I don't need that. I just like I've already solved this problem.
Well, here's the thing. If you were going to be a solo guy playing along with multi-tracks and that was your gig, I could see having that live inside your pedal and having a pedal well designed to deliver that would be pretty good.
Sure.
But that's not my use case.
Right.
I've pressed Band Helper into service for that, and it seems to be doing pretty well. Other people using other things, Ableton Live or other stuff. I don't know if you as a band leader driving those tracks or whoever's driving the tracks for you would want to have those come out of your guitar pedal. That feels a little bit specific.
Yep. We're having this conversation on the Patreon Slack about another piece of gear that, you know, isn't related to this at all, which is it's another one of these all-in-one deals. So the idea that you would put your entire show into a single piece of gear gives me pause because while it reduces the number of points of failure, it also means that if there is a point of failure, everything goes down.
Yeah.
And there's no sort of redundancy workflow built in that I'm aware of.
Right.
So if it goes down, you're SOL. And that kind of rolls into point number 5. But yeah, we're using other systems for playback. I don't need my guitar modeler to do that. And frankly, there's just other pieces of hardware and software out there with a much longer track record of reliability. And, you know, it's hard to put all of my eggs in this particular basket in regards to this.
And again, if your gig is I play guitar along with tracks, I sing and guitar with tracks, which is viable. I've seen people doing that.
Sure.
Having that all live inside your pedal, pretty nice. But existing bands with existing solutions, this is not something they're going to consider.
Right. And that brings me to like the last point, which is the whole showcase functionality. This is kind of the yes and to the multi-track playback functionality. So in the Helix Stadium, there is a feature they're calling Showcase, which includes the ability to add MIDI commands, video, basically just like a lot of different kinds of automation in conjunction with your playback setup. And again, if you're in a scenario where you don't have these kinds of systems put in place already, it's pretty remarkable. And we are not opposed to automation. I've got Ableton set up where it can switch my presets. I've got the WIDI set up on my HX Stomp where it can do that. Band Helper can do these things. But I think you're kind of getting into my point here, which is if you're using this stuff already, if you've got any sort of show control hardware or Ableton Live, Pro Presenter, Band Helper, like any other product in the marketplace, you've done the hard part already. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So the prospect of starting over from scratch on a brand new piece of hardware that theoretically doesn't even exist right now, I'm not really on board. Let's keep going down this particular like thought process. So you've put your entire show into this unit. What is this unit? It's a guitar pedal board. Where does it sit? Well, it sits on the floor. Where on the floor does it sit? Well, it sits in most cases right in front of you at the front of the stage.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on putting your entire show into a piece of hardware that somebody could like easily spill a beer into in the middle of your show?
Yeah.
And then everything goes.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, ugh.
Yeah.
I'm getting bubble guts just thinking about it right now.
Right. Right.
I just,
right. Yeah.
To me, an all-in-one solution isn't as compelling as it might be to other people. And it's because I've spent the last 20 plus years doing this kind of work.
Yeah. You've learned where the weak spots are and where the risks are and what not to depend on 100%.
Yeah. It's too, to me, it feels too risky.
Yeah. Now, I'll say that's the reason I have not brought a laptop out to drive my show.
Sure.
It's why I've put that into Band Helper on an iPad on a attachment to a mic stand, which is in reality no more secure than a floor-based solution. Feels more secure than an iPad or than a laptop rather sitting somewhere. I don't know. I definitely feel the same thing that having it inside a guitar pedal feels like investing more faith in it than it's earned.
Right. And on that note, the thing about laptop playback and automation deals is that at this point, the ability to set up redundancy and syncing multiple sessions together between multiple computers so that they automatically fail over, like the ability to run your playback on a laptop running Ableton Live or two laptops running Ableton Live is pretty well established.
Yeah.
And so the idea that, one of your laptops could literally melt into the table and your show would not stop is valid.
Yeah.
And I'm much more willing to go down that path than put my trust in a as of yet unreleased product. So let's go into the honorable mentions. So you had one and I've got two. So why don't you go ahead and drop yours?
Reason number 6, I'm not interested. Helix Stadium floor, $1,800.
Yep. So that was actually my next one, which is
there we go. Stadium floor XL, which is the floor with an expression pedal, $2,200.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
You could get a MacBook Pro running Ableton Live for that.
You could.
And it could do all of those things.
Yes.
And then some.
Yes.
I don't think the pricing is unreasonable. And also, given the current circumstances and the supply chain and the tariff situation, there's a very good possibility that
they'll come to market 20% higher than that.
Or
40% higher than that. Who knows?
Or some weird political thing happens and it's 20 to 30% less than that. I'm not going to strike that.
Yeah.
We'll cut it. We'll leave it in, but we'll cut it.
I don't think that's likely, but all right. What are those leave in but cuts?
Yeah.
I just think compared to what's on the market, if it was your first buy and you were going to go all in on that whole feature set, maybe I could see it.
Yeah.
But anybody who's been around a bit and has already got some kind of modeling solution on board, that price is hard to understand.
Right. So the second honorable mention that kind of dovetails into what we just talked about is that the OG line isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so, you know what they're doing? They're going to continue to sell the products that we have been using, and they're dropping the price.
Ah.
So you were looking at the Helix LT. When I bought it, I think it was $10.99. It's now $8.99. And it's fluctuated like all over, whatever. But the price will continue to it'll stay where it's at or it'll go down.
Yep.
It will still provide outstanding value for people who are looking for that particular kind of functionality.
Yep.
In my world, if I had my druthers, somewhere down the line, they would release this new modeling platform deal into a form factor identical or similar to the HX Stomp. And that would be the period of time where I was like, okay, let's give it a go. Let's see what see what it's made of.
Yep.
All my stuff is backwards compatible. I can bring my existing presets into this new ecosystem. Everything's going to, transfer over. And maybe I have more flexibility. I have more, processing blocks. I can add more stuff. I can make the things that I'm already doing sound that much better because I have the ability to add more, control over those parameters. Like,
the bottom line, you know and I know, our audiences don't care.
No. And there's very few features of this new product that will change that.
Right.
But I also want to make sure that if Frank or any of the guys at Line 6 are watching...
Who we do love. We love those guys. We love them.
If you want to send us one to shut us up...
For sure.
We will recant everything that we said.
Listen, Frank, change my mind.
Yeah. Do it.
Come on.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
For sure.
And this doesn't mean that I'm going to, stop being a Line 6 fanboy.
Yeah.
I love my HX Stomp so much. It solves so many problems and has been rock solid and sounds great and doesn't take up any space and just it does everything I need it to do. So if something comes down the line that requires very little of me to transfer over, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Pricing be damned. If it sounds better and it makes things easier for me, I'm into it.
Yeah.
But the current version of everything, and listen, this can all change. This product has not been released yet. A lot of stuff is still vaporware to a certain degree. And there are folks out there who have had a chance to play through these and they say that the modeling is phenomenal, and that remains to be seen for, the rest of us. But for right now, I will keep my tiny board with my tiny HX Stomp, and I will continue to melt faces.
Yep. And listen, the availability starts June 25th, which means by the time this
for the pre-orders,
episode drops, you will be able to pre-order one and reserve your Helix Stadium online and in stores. So those of you who do say you two knuckleheads don't know what the hell you're talking about, I'm doing it. Let us know why. What drove that decision? I'm interested.
Yeah. So hit us up, coverbandconfidential@gmail.com. Leave a comment on this video. We're all ears. I felt like going over all of the conversations that I was seeing online, the positive stuff was being covered. And I don't feel like what we're saying is negative necessarily.
Not really.
I think it's just, it's looking at it from the practical perspective of a person who is using this gear already to do the gigs that we're doing.
Right.
It's not speculative. It's not aspirational. It's hey, I look at gear as tools to solve problems. And at this current juncture, given the information that we've been given, doesn't really do that for me.
Right.
So if you agree, let us know. If you disagree, let us know. But ultimately, I still think this is going to be a big deal. And I think just like all of the other conversations we've had about modelers, this is going to push innovation and move the whole marketplace forward. Hopefully we get a little less hate from this video than we do from the Dark Class one.
We'll see.
But listen, the only thing that I know people are more thin-skinned about than Dark Glass players. Maybe they're Helix players. So I guess we'll have to see.
We'll see.
That's not true. It's Fractal players. We all know that.
It is. They're the worst. Here's the other thing: is we're not a guitar channel. We should probably have our drummer and keyboarder friends on to talk about what's new in that area of gear, because I do feel like you and I tend to turn this cover band thing into when there's a guitar piece of news, we get very specific about that. And I feel like a fair chunk of our audience probably fast forwards through these.
Well, sure. But to be fair, we've, when live sound stuff comes up, we're not just we're not in just the guitar world, but we are two guitar players. It would be kind of silly for us to not talk about these things.
No. We got to talk about it. I just think, what's happening with hi-hat stands these days.
Well, that's another interesting conversation, because I feel like the amount of innovation in other parts of the music instrument world may not necessarily be quite as prevalent.
Well, I don't know is the point. I have no idea, because I'm not in that world, but it'd be interesting to find out.
Drummers Is there more going on to drumming and new gear beyond we took this thing and made it digital, or we took this acoustic thing and we made it blue? Coverbandconfidential@gmail.com.
Yeah, we took this bass, we took this kick pedal and turned it from a chain drive into a band drive or something. I don't know. I literally don't know.
All hate mail can be sent to Dan Ray.
Bring it. Here
Dan
we
at
go.
danray.net. No,
That's right. No,
Anyway.
That's right.